your host, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, back in here with yet one more video. Joined today by a very special guest, Sky.
Hello.
Say what up.
What's going on? Follow me on all social media outlets at Billy Nation. Billi, not Y.
Billy Nation.
Yep.
Cool. All right. So we have a fantastic video in store for you guys today.
It's like hot and cold with me with that. It's weird because I'm single and I would love for a guy to adore me and just be all about me, but it's almost like be careful what you wish for. Mm-hmm. So for me right now, being single and wanting that male attention, I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. Pay only me attention, be all about me. But until I get that, it might be overly too much, where it's just kind of like it comes off a little bit controlling and abrasive, where I'm just like, I don't want this much attention. But it's just like, isn't this what you said you wanted?
Yeah. So how do you think dudes are supposed to understand like that very fine line between giving you attention and not giving you attention? Because it just seems confusing, right? Like you want something, but then you're saying, but once you get it, you might be like, right? So like try to help me understand, like how do we deal, like as dudes, how do we deal with knowing that kind of layer of confusion exists within?
Well, I think just like anything, you just have to kind of like know what you're dealing with. So I always recommend that people become friends first. And sometimes it's kind of hard to cross those lines once you have established like a friendship with someone. Mm-hmm. So there's this guy that I kind of was really feeling a lot. And I'm like, oh, of course I want things to expand. But as I got to know him more, there were certain things about him that I just was like, ugh, like I don't want this at all. And we are still able to become, you know, friends. We're still able to like communicate and still have a friendly relationship. But I think when you go gun-ho into a relationship, there's no way of telling, you know, what's too much and what's not, because it's all kind of like a mind game. And I hate to say this, and I hate that this happens in dating, but you just never know what you're getting into until you're already into it. So I always recommend that people become friends first. So you get to know that person. And when you kind of break down who they are as a person, you kind of fill them out, like this person's really indecisive or this person's really clingy, and it kind of just molds you to know either how you're going to deal with them or if you even want to deal with them on that level at all. So I mean, there's no way to really get around the whole, oh, I know I'm hot and I'm cold and you're supposed to understand this about me. Telling you have to be very vocal in relationships. This is becoming too much. Is there a way that we can work on this? And it has to be a way that you guys can communicate and the other person take in what's being said and not get like offended, like, oh, I'm loving you too much, oh, this is a problem. Like, no, it's not a problem, but it's making me uncomfortable.
So I'm following you, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Here's where my confusion is, right? Because you know, if you think about, you know, the way that you describe that, you know, you're single now, but you would love someone to be all about you, right?
Yes.
You would love
most girls.
You would love someone being all about you,
yeah,
right? Mm-hmm. But then there's also but what if, you know, so like if someone is trying to be all about you and and they're communicating to you that, or you're communicating to them that you want someone to be all about you, and then he's all about you. At what point it's and all of a sudden you start to pull back, and then he's like, but that's what you wanted. You wanted me to be all about you, right? So regardless of like communication of what you want, I think the difference and the confusion that happens to some dudes is that like what you say that you want may not be what you need.
Yeah, that's true. And unfortunately, there's no way to really like kind of pull back and know that instantly without, for me, I'm gonna go back to communication. Like, it's okay, women, it's okay to be like, yeah, I didn't know what I want. Like, and we don't always have to have it together. Like, and that's the thing that most women come into relationships expecting us to have it all together. We're the most flawless person in the world. We have trouble admitting our mistakes, but it's okay to say, hey, I did want you to be all about me. I want you to be all about me, but the way you are coming about it is a little too much. Like, is there a way that you can still be all about me and still kind of let me be my own person and I let you be your own person, and understanding those boundaries? But if you can't respect each other's space, because it's weird with women. So we say we want someone who's all about us. We get that person who's all about us, and they're like, oh, he's just too much about us. And then once he starts pulling away, we're like, well, what's going on? What's new? What's changed? And we're like, we say we're open to change, but women aren't. We're scared of change like crazy, because we're used to routine things. We're used to things being consistent with this particular person, and once it changes, it becomes a little bit too much on the relationship as a whole, where it's causing a lot of arguments and problems. Oh, you used to do this, I used to do that. Well, when I did that, you didn't appreciate it. It's not that I didn't appreciate it. It's like we kind of contradict ourselves, and that's men and women, but women more common.
Women exponentially more.
Yes.
I don't know if that's true. I think verbally you tell us that you like consistency. I think what actually happens is you much more prefer a bit of turmoil, because at the point that the man starts to pull back, all of a sudden that's when you'll come like, well, what's wrong? What happened? Right? So it's like that ebb and flow between the turmoil, right? If you're not getting all the validation that you require, if you're not getting, right, but you rate him high on the market value, the relationship market value, the sexual market value, however you want to call it, then that's when you could want it more. Just like, your parents, you got a bag of Doritos or cookies sitting on the table, and your parents are like, no, you can't have that. And the more that you're looking at that bag of chips or Doritos, whatever that you want, the more that you want it, because you cannot have it, right? So there's a bit of human psychology in there as well. It's like once something is readily attainable, like once something is right here and you have everything that you need within that, you start to discount the impact or the value that it has in your life. So then you just might disrespect what that relationship is.
That's true. The excitement of before having something and then actually getting it and then losing it, and then that whole, you value things more when you can't have it, but then when you get it, it's kind of like, oh, I got it. So it's kind of like taking it for granted. And then once you lose it, you kind of like reflect like, God, I remember when I had that and I just totally ruined it. So I definitely understand with that, but honestly, there's no way to like unconfuse a man or a woman about like putting in too much or putting in too less. You just have to hope that whatever communication mechanisms that you guys are using, it works for you. And hopefully you guys know each other enough on like a friend level to know what's gonna make this person tick and what's gonna, effectively work when I communicate with them. So me having a normal conversation, it makes sense to you. We're not on that level, but me having a conversation with someone I'm intimate in, it may put them in a space that's like totally different, and it might cause more conflict.
Yeah.
So.
No, I get it. Yeah, because once emotions are kind of wrapped up to it, you're not thinking logically, and then when feelings get wrapped up to it, it can complicate a situation.
Feelings will complicate everything.
Which is why I think like as men, we should not be reliant on feelings. I think we should be reliant on logic. When there's no way that we can use logic, then you have to make a gut reaction, right? When there's no justifiably clear answer, right? Like you're stuck out in the middle of the desert. You don't have a map. You can't look at the sky. You can't look at the stars. You can't look at the way the sun's setting, right? Then you just gotta make a gut decision.
I think you just have to consider all parties' feelings, and that's something that people don't do enough in relationships and friendships, and just any type of situation where you have to do what's best for you. Sometimes people don't consider the other person's feelings. They're doing what's best for them. They're saying what's on their mind, because this is what they feel works for them. But they're not considering how it may affect the other person. So I think.
But listen, but if I consider your feelings, then I will consider that you say to me verbally that you want someone to adore you,
Right.
to put you on a pedestal.
Right.
But at the end of that, that's not what actually keeps you attracted. But I'm considering your feelings. So it's almost like there has to be another layer that you have to walk within in order to get from point A to point B with your mind intact.
It's a struggle. Dating is a struggle. Getting to that point where you guys are just like naturally yourself, you understand this person totally, can take years and years. And I think that's what people don't understand, that those perfect relationships don't exist. So those relationships you see on TV, get that out your mind. Like, it's not real.
Facts.
It's not real at all. For you to, you go through things with people, you experience things with people, and that's how you get to really honestly know the true them.
Until next time, you two.
Bye.
Peace.